I thought I would attempt to try and fix your WIPS or motivate you or think about ways that I would get out of the WIPS stage. You sent me photos, descriptions, whatever of your WIPS, and I'm gonna try and give some of my advice. I've got my selection of drinks here, water, peppermint tea, so do the same, grab a nice drink, and let's chat WIPS. Going straight in with a very relatable problem, and that's sleeve island. I hate knitting sleeves so much. It's so incredibly boring, and I hate knitting in the round when the round isn't quite big enough, so you're constantly having to do the magic loop method. Your project is constantly twisting and turning around, so nothing about knitting sleeves is enjoyable. However, if you are stuck on sleeve island just like this person, here is what I usually do. First of all, I choose a project which has very short arms. So I will go for a really oversized body so that the arms itself only have to be knit that long, because the oversized fit of the project is making up for the arms. Like the body basically comes up to here, I only have to knit to here. Another thing that I do is I work with a yarn that stretches during the blocking stage. So this obviously depends on your preference. I find like a brushed acrylic, for example, will really stretch out when I'm blocking it, so that means I can knit it a lot smaller than what it eventually ends up fitting. Really good example of this is this cardigan that I have made, and yeah, you can see how short it is before I blocked it versus how long it ends up being after I've blocked it. That's always a very good way of knitting less than you actually need to. Obviously this goes with anything. Using a bigger needle, a bigger yarn, a thicker yarn, just means you have to do less row in order to get the thickness and the size of your project. This doesn't look like you're using the smallest needle or the smallest type of yarn, to be honest. However, this is a raglan project, so naturally your arms will be kind of a lot longer. You don't have that oversized feel with raglan than you would with just like a flat piece. This person also said that they were very discouraged because they're scared to knit the button band. I actually think this would be another recommendation, is to actually finish everything else that you can finish before making the arms. So obviously you said that you're scared to do the button band, but I actually love doing the buttons. I find that the button band creates such a different fit to how it fits previously, and it's so fun to then try it on and kind of imagine how that's going to sit when it's done. And I find that then very much encourages me to just get the sleeves finished and out of the way so that I can actually wear the piece. Sometimes you can lose sight of what you're knitting towards, what your aim is, what your goal is, and doing finishing touches like the neckline, like the button band, I think helps you just imagine it a lot better. Again, I did the same with this cardigan. I did every single thing. The arms were the very last thing that I did, so that means I've done the button bands and I've done the neckline before I even cast on the arms. And I think as you're then trying the piece on to figure out how much more you have to go for your arms, it just encourages you a lot more, because you're not having to do the arms and then you're still like, oh god, I still have to do the button band and I still have to do the neckline. That's all done. The last thing and the only thing standing in your way is the sleeves. And then obviously if you are at that point, put on a good film, put on a good show, and just essentially dissociate for the duration of you knitting that arm. Whenever I film without my glasses, I genuinely cannot see the screen. I do not know what I look like, and I feel like I end up fussing with my hair and my fringe a lot more because I can't tell if it looks good or not. And I hate nothing more than filming an entire video and realizing my fringe was all over the shot the entire time, so I apologize if I'm a bit fidgety. Here we have another raglan cardigan. This is going to be a crew neck, and it's made of a strand of alpaca and a strand of wool held together. Now this project has been going for over a year. They can't find any buttons that matched, and they've already spent £12 on buttons. They said I should really just move on and do the sleeves and come back to the buttons, but my brain won't let me. Now this is totally fair. I did say to this person that I really love the mismatched button look. I think it especially makes sense with the type of yarn. I think what needs to happen here is leave the buttons, because your choice of buttons might completely change once the sleeves are done, once you're wearing the full finished cardigan. So leave the buttons. This is not time to do the buttons. I think what you should do next is do the neckline. Make sure to get your entire piece, like the body body piece to where you exactly want it to be, and then you can make a start on the sleeves. It will just motivate you so much more to have everything pretty much fitted and ready. And then buttons, the very last thing. I would not waste any time messing about with buttons. I also think choosing buttons is like a little treat at the end, you know? It's the last final creative decision that you can make. So use that as an incentive as you're doing the sleeves. And also as you're knitting the sleeves, you can be brainstorming, you can be thinking of different colorways, different types of buttons, and kind of distract yourself from doing the sleeves by thinking about the buttons and, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, no photos from this person, but they've been working on the Tuesday top by Azora shop on Etsy. So let's look this up. Oh, this is so cute. I have seen this before. This is adorable. This is amazing for summer. I spoke about this in my spring trends video, that tank tops, like knit tank tops and stuff like that, are so gonna be my thing this year. So this person said that they basically don't know why it's taking them so long. The pattern is pretty much just 2 rectangles sewn together. They've got 1 panel done and just need to get started on the second one before summer. Now this is funny because yes, it's a very simple pattern. It is 2 panels. However, because it's so simple, it unfortunately also makes it really boring, and I think that is very discouraging. It makes so much sense that you would do 1 panel and all you need to do is to do 1 more panel and then you have the final thing, but that makes it a chore. Do you really want to do it again? The same stitch pattern that isn't very complicated or very interesting? I think it makes sense to not want to do it again. I also find this really hard because as much as I want simple, basic, very wearable pieces, it makes it a lot harder for me to create these things because I'm exactly like this person and I will get demotivated and I'll get bored, basically. I'll just get bored of doing the same over and over and over again. I love this basic, simple white tank that is, you know, on the forefront. However, to spice things up a bit, use different colored yarn, make into a stripe pattern, use something colorful, just because it will make your brain more interested in what's going on in front of you. Obviously, if you don't want to do that, if you just want a simple piece in 1 color, again, completely understand it. It will probably be more wearable. I would spend more time thinking about the ways that you're going to end up wearing this final piece. Look on Pinterest, look at your summer outfit inspo. How are you going to wear it? When are you going to wear it? Think of 3 or 5 different outfits that you're going to wear this piece with, and it will give you a sense of purpose. It will remind you what you're doing this for, and it will motivate you. Like, you won't be able to wear any of these outfits until you finish that second panel and you've sewn everything together. Doing this for me also will sometimes determine whether a project is worth continuing or not. If I'm not able to find any use for that project, any outfits, if I'm not able to wear it in my day-to-day or for a specific occasion, or if I'm not able to practically use it, it's probably not worth putting through and it might be time to unravel your project. But I think in this case, think of some cute outfits and you'll get that motivation back. I just want to take a very quick break to talk about today's sponsor, Craftsy. Now, I've worked with Craftsy a number of times before, but if you're not already familiar with Craftsy, it is an online community and resource for millions of crafters, DIYers and makers to find creative inspiration, advance their skills and even learn new skills along the way. Craftsy offers more than 2,000 classes and over 20 categories like crochet, knitting, quilting, sewing, painting, honestly anything you can think of, Craftsy will have it covered. All their classes are broken down into easy to follow lessons and are led by friendly, award-winning instructors who share their creative wisdom as they provide their step-by-step demonstrations. As I have and will mention in this video many a times, many of our WIPs fail because we are simply lacking the knowledge to take the project to the next level or to fully bring our ideas to life. This is where Craftsy can come in really handy. You're able to learn completely new methods and skills all in one place. The Entrelac knitting techniques class looks so interesting. I found so many classes on Craftsy that teach skills that I didn't even know I needed and wanted in my life. So this is definitely one of those. And then on a completely different note, not even related to knitting and crocheting, I stumbled across the Make a Woven Seat Stool class. I am 100% saving this for one of my home projects. Again, I didn't even think about the fact that I could make a stool, but this video is literally half an hour long. It won't even take me that long to do the proper research for this project. So if you want to try Craftsy for yourself, then the first 1,000 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in my description, we'll get a full year of premium membership of Craftsy for only $1.49. There's an incredible amount of things that you can learn within this year. Thanks again so much for Craftsy, and let's try and problem solve the next WIP. This person, it sounds like, is freehanding a project, and they're replicating the Princess Diaries 2 poncho. I had to look this up. I don't think I've ever seen the Princess Diaries, definitely not the second one, but this is very, very cool. They said that they bought different yarns, tried both knit and crochet stitches, but they hate everything that they've tried so far, and they've unraveled a ton. I've been there so many times. It is so incredibly frustrating. I think especially if you're freehanding, you're often doing that because you have a very specific idea in mind, but you don't quite have the technical skills or the answer, or know exactly which stitch or pattern to create in order to get to that final result. And it is so hard. It is so hard. If this person has been freehanding, I would probably suggest to really try and find a pattern that is either, you know, an exact pattern for that or a very similar thing and follow that. It would just help you out so much, and you don't have to problem solve as much because you have the instructions in front of you, and you can then obviously get creative with the type of yarn and the colors you use to make it match this specific poncho. If you feel like you still haven't really found the correct yarn, I would just make different swatches. And I know this is really boring. I know you just want to really get cracking on the project, but you're wasting so much of your time casting on the same project with different yarn, different needles over and over again, because you realize like halfway through, this isn't it for me. Make a smaller replica, knit or crochet a square, and see how that looks before you make a start on the bigger project. It will just really help you not waste so much time. I'm obsessed with this poncho, by the way. I really think ponchos are so in for this spring season. I found this really gorgeous black and white striped poncho in a charity shop the other day, and I am obsessed with it. I can't wait to start wearing it. Now, this person is working on a sort of summer cover-up dress crochet thing, and they've been at it since September. They said there's literally only missing like 9 rows and then being sewn together, which is so funny because that is a big project. You would have been at it for so long. You literally just need to do one more panel. This is a big project, so I think it's completely fair that you've been at it since September. This would take a very long time. I'm incredibly impressed that you have the patience to crochet such a big dress. I think this is literally just coming down to the thing that I said previously. Think about when you're going to wear this to. I sometimes struggle when I'm making pieces for a single event. So if this is a crochet dress that you're planning to wear on your holiday that's coming up in June, but you're only on that holiday for 1 week and you haven't really thought about other occasions to wear this to, maybe you need to have a think about that, because for me personally, one single event hasn't been motivating enough for me to finish a WIP, and actually a lot of my WIPs have failed because I made them for one specific occasion and I haven't really thought about their like multi-purpose. So I think, again, take some time to look at some inspo, look at some outfit pics, remind yourself why exactly you started this project, and hopefully that will kind of reignite that initial motivation that you felt. Now, this person is working on a pair of striped shorts, and there's a few things that they're struggling with. So first of all, they ran out of yarn, so they couldn't finish it, and then summer kind of passed and they never were able to pick it up again. Then they also were freehanding it, but it wasn't turning out correctly, so they started again from scratch, and hopefully it will be better this time. So that's the second problem. Problem number one, yarn running out. That is a massive thing that I think determines whether you're going to finish a piece or not. I freehand so many of my things, which means that a lot of the time I don't know how much yarn to buy for my idea. And I've failed with so many WIPs previously because the yarn ran out, and you basically just lose momentum. By the time you've actually reordered and gotten your new yarn, you will not care as much about that project. Obviously, the easiest fix to that is just to buy as much yarn as you would need. Maybe buy more yarn than you think you would need, just to make sure that that doesn't happen. If you do run out of yarn, repurchase that yarn as soon as you've run out, so not as much time passes with that project. The longer you wait, the more your brain is not going to care. Second of all, freehanding, it not working out, starting again. For me, I anticipate this when I freehand. You know, I know that it's not always going to work out straight away, but I find after maybe the second or third go, I get really discouraged. At some point, it is worth considering whether it actually makes sense to be freehanding this project, or whether you should just use someone else's pattern and follow that. that a lot of the time you will have an amazing idea, you will have the basic skills, but you might just be lacking one very simple solution or a very specific stitch or method that you at this moment in time simply don't know yet. And the only way you're going to find out and going to learn is by following other people's patterns. So maybe this isn't the time to freehand. Maybe you simply need to add on to your skill set. This is also a reminder to myself, because I refuse sometimes to just teach myself a new method, which would make freehanding future projects so much easier. Next, we have a Tunisian crochet project. This person is struggling with their hook size, which is too small. They said that they like the look of fine cotton until they have to work with fine cotton. And I very much relate to that. I love the look of fine cotton as well, but I refuse to work with small needles and small yarn and small hooks if it's on a larger project, because I know it's never going to get done. So I tend to hold 2 strands of cotton yarn together. It works better in crochet than it does with knit. I found that in knit, when I hold 2 strands of cotton together, it works best if I do like a garter stitch, or a stitch that, I don't know, like holds tension a bit better rather than stocking it. I found it just gets too gappy and you can't really get like a good amount of tension on it. So this person said that it took them 3-ish weeks just to finish the back panel. They're using a 2mm hook for the whole body. 2 millimeters. That is, I have so much respect. I mean, the simplest solution is just don't use a 2mm hook. But obviously this person has already made progress by, making the back panel. It's going to look absolutely incredible when it's done. That dedication of actually sticking with that fine cotton look is incredible. The only thing really I can recommend here is to start a really good new show, watch a new movie, find a new YouTube channel to obsess over and distract yourself from the project itself. That's the only advice, to be honest. That's on you for picking a 2mm hook. Then to this one, we have the same issue again of running out of yarn. So I think at the moment they said they're just waiting for a delivery. It's gonna be a bag, which is really cute, but they ran out of the red yarn and now it's just been sat on the table for days. I think that is absolutely fine. I think waiting for a few days, I would say, is normal. I think when it gets to weeks, months, even years, you've got an issue. You know, obviously that is very frustrating. So close to the end, you've run out of red yarn. But it seems like if you're waiting for the delivery, you've already ordered it. So you've pretty much done the right thing there. Order your yarn as soon as you've run out. We all know that feeling. It's kind of like, it makes you feel a bit restless when the project is sat there and just kind of waiting. I think channel that restlessness. Do not start another project. If you know your yarn is coming, it's on its way, and you have a few days in between where you don't have a project to work on, don't start a new project, because your brain will fixate on that new project, and when the new yarn arrives, you're thinking all about that new project. You don't want to be going back to an old project that's been sat around for a few days. So take that time to not crochet or knit anything, do something else, read, go for a walk, meet some friends, whatever you like to do. And then once that yarn is there, make sure to finish that project and then pick up something new. I think that's definitely where I've gone wrong in the past. Is I thought, oh, you know, while I'm waiting, I'll start something new, and actually I ended up, enjoying that new project so much more that I never finished the old one, which is a shame, especially when you're so close to finishing it. This person sent me 2 WIPS. One of them is a granny square made out of scraps, which they're not quite sure yet on what it's going to become. And I think that is always a bit tricky, when you're knitting or crocheting something just to kind of pass the time, but you don't really know what that's going to become. I think if it's a scrap yarn project and it's a small project, like a single granny square, that's absolutely fine. If you're just trying to pass some time, as you're in between ideas, you might need that time to just aimlessly knit and crochet to then reach a different idea. This might go against the video advice in general of finish your WIPs, get them done. Things like this, you don't need to finish them on the spot. Just hold on to it and you will find purpose for it eventually. That doesn't quite so much apply to the second WIP that they sent, which is going to be a Raglan Kids jumper. They said that it went wrong and needs frogging, but they've now watched a few more YouTube videos on how to get the colours right. So it sounds like you've pretty much problem solved it. You tried something, you had an idea, it didn't work out, you looked up video tutorials, you now have the solution. So that's great. I love the colours and I love the design, especially for a kids jumper. I think this is going to look super, super cute. But yeah, this is one of those WIPs that you're gonna want to problem solve and finish in the moment. You don't want to have that laying around, hoping that one day you'll figure it out. A lot of the time our ideas simply just don't work out because we don't have the knowledge. You found found the knowledge, you've read up, you've watched some tutorials, you figured it out, solved. Then the next person has a freehand cardigan that they haven't touched since November. And here we have a photo. It looks so nice, very colourful. So you've already kind of ticked one of my advice. If you're making a basic sort of shape, which this looks like a nice sort of basic cardigan shape, use a fun colour. You've done that, so already done well there. I guess your needle size is kind of small, but it's not like super small. So I think in that sense, it looks fine as well. From the photo, it looks like you're at this awkward stage where you've knit for a very long time. You've made loads of progress, but you're not able to try it on yet. You've only got one side, so you can't really visualize what you're aiming for yet. Because you're also knitting everything in one go, or it looks like you are anyways, which is also my favorite way of knitting cardigans, is just knitting everything in one piece, is you need to think in stages, because if you're knitting everything in one, it can seem incredibly overwhelming. So you need to think now, you've done the left panel, next you're going to do the right panel. That's all you need to think about, nothing else. You don't need to think about the sleeves that are still to do. No, you're just going to think, I'm going to do the right panel, then I'm done. You're not going to be done, but that doesn't matter. You're going to have to gaslight yourself here. You do the right panel, then you're done. Once you've done that, you're going to do the button band. You need to just think, all I need to do is the button band, then I'm done. It's almost like exercising, you know, when you're on the treadmill, you're going for a run and you're like, oh no, I need to stop. And you gaslight yourself into saying, no, I'm going to run to that corner there and then I can stop. By the time you've run there, you kind of are in the swing of things. You know, you've got the momentum, you're going to keep going. And the same honestly applies to knitting. By the time you've done the button band, you're going to probably think, oh, I might as well do the neckline. By the time you've done the neckline, you can proper try it on and you'll see how nice it's looking, you see your progress, and then everything will follow. So think in stages and gaslight yourself. That's my advice on this one. And the last WIP we're going to discuss is the Off-Grid Sweater by Rose. I'm going to just look this up. I have seen this many a times before. It is so gorgeous. Okay, so this person says that the reason it's sitting around is that they're super confused with the pattern when it comes to working the body separate. Now this is hard. Obviously I can't give advice on the pattern itself because I haven't got it, I haven't worked on it, so I don't, exactly know the solution to that. It seems like there's a simple misunderstanding somewhere, obviously within the pattern. I wonder if you're able to find the solution by watching YouTube tutorials on specific things, whether you need some time to work on other similar projects, other similar patterns that will give you the answer that you're looking for. It is really hard and it's really discouraging when you are struggling to follow a pattern. I am not very good at following patterns. I've only done like a handful of patterns, I want to say, which has come to not serve me very well because I want to write my own patterns, but in order to write your own patterns, you need to have made patterns, So yeah, this one is very tricky because it is so specific. But if in particular you're struggling with working the body separate, I would simply try and find either similar patterns that are maybe free so you can practice, or use the resources on YouTube and TikTok to find projects that look similar that might visually explain exactly how to fix your problem. Sometimes all it takes is for someone else to explain it, for it to be written by someone else who might have a different phrasing, different words, for it to make so much more sense to you. This reminds me of maths. I have such great comparisons in this video today. Oh my god, it's like doing maths when you're sat in the classroom and it just simply does not make sense what the teacher's saying to you. But I remember I would then revise with my dad and my dad would explain it to me and I'd be like, oh, obviously that makes so much sense, just because he would explain it in a different way. I think this has been a problem recently with people getting backlash on their patterns not being well written, when in fact they are well written, it's just that you don't understand them. And it sounds like I'm putting the blame on, the person knitting and crocheting rather than the person writing the pattern. Obviously some patterns are badly written, that is fine. I think we're forgetting that patterns can be subjective and not all patterns are going to be well written for everyone. But yeah, I hope this was kind of an interesting insight into sort of reoccurring problems. I could relate to every single person struggling with their project. I've 100% been there before. If you can think of any tips, solutions to any of the WIPs, any of the common problems that were mentioned in this video, please leave them below in the comments. Let's keep helping each other out. I keep learning so much from all of you who leave comments and give me advice on things, so keep doing that. And if you are looking for specific answers to your questions, drop them below, help each other out. But yeah, that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next week. Goodbye.